Okay, so first let us create a Python file. So we're going to create a simple Python program, okay, that will store, insert, update, and delete, okay, using mongodb database. Okay, so let me create a Python file, okay, called sample1. Okay, so for this example, okay, we're going to be using, okay, pymongo. So you can simply install pymongo using pip. Okay, just type pip install pymongo. Okay, so next is we're going to be using tkinter, okay, as our GUI, okay, or graphical user interface, and then we will be also using tkinter message box, okay, for small dialog box interactions. Okay, so first let's create our GUI. Okay, so this is our, okay, statement that will create a title bar, okay, a window GUI, and a color, okay, to that window. So this variable holds, okay, all the object properties to our window. Okay, so if I run the program, you will see the output. Okay, so this is the output of our GUI program. Okay, next let us add some, okay, input boxes. Okay, so let us add input boxes. We have, okay, first a label. Okay, this is our label. So let me increase this one. Okay, so you will see our label. We have here a variable label, okay, using our tk. We have this object label, so using this variable window where this label will be appearing. So this label will be appearing in this window. Okay, you can have another label that will appear in another window, so you will be using that variable. Okay, so the caption or text of that label is student enlistment form. Okay, it has a width of 30, height, color, okay, and it will be placed in a center. Okay, so the font and the position. So this is column 2, okay, row 1. So if I run this, for example, you will see, okay, so this is column, okay, column 2, row 1. So we don't have any column 1 yet. So if you create another label that is column 1, okay, in its grid, this particular label will be moved, okay, in its correct column. Since we don't have column 1 yet, this label will show in the first column or column 1. Okay, so let's add another label. We have here, okay, this is okay, so this label will be inserted in column 1. Okay, column 1. So this label will be moved in the column 2. Okay, so as you can see in the output, okay, there you go. So this label is column 2, this is column 1. Okay, so next we have, okay, an entry or an input box. Okay, so this particular statement, okay, okay, creates an entry, okay, and then, okay, this is the text field, okay, using tkinter. It will be positioned in second column, second row, okay, and it's currently disabled, so meaning you cannot enter anything to it, okay, because this text field is a student ID. So you're not allowed to enter any student ID. Okay. Okay, so the purpose of this statement is the CID here is going to be our text variable. So meaning anything that you input in this text field will be assigned to this variable CID. Okay, CID is a string var or a string variable. Okay, so we're going to be using CID to know what is the value that is inputted here. Okay, so if you run the program, you will see this output. Okay, as you can see, it's disabled. You cannot type anything. Okay, next next one we have a label and another text field, which is student name. Okay, another one we have so we have our label and text field, which is email. Okay, and we have another one. Okay, so we have a student course and label. Okay, so this will show this output. Here you go, as you can see. So we can input values here. Okay, except so the 2 is given the same value. Okay, so we have C email. Okay, that's why if I type something here, it will also show here. Okay, so let me change this to okay, so this one should be the same. Okay, so you can see. Okay, next let's include buttons. So we will have the following buttons. So these are our buttons. We have TK button, and it will be positioned in the following columns and rows. Okay, so we have here command. Command is simply a method that will be called every time you click the button. So if you click this button, you need to have a method called save, delete, and update. Okay, so if you run the program, it will show an error. Okay, meaning you need to have the following method first. Okay, so this is we need to place them on top. Okay, so we will have our let me include this one. Okay, window main loop. Okay, to terminate or to end our window. And so this is our save. Okay, and this is our delete. Okay, and this is our update method. So every time you click each button, those methods will be called. Okay, so for our database connection, we need to have that also. Okay, so for Python, we will be using these statements. Okay, the following statements connects you to our Python without username or password. This is the port number, and this is the current local machine. Okay, you can also type any IP address that's installed with mongodb also. Okay, this is the database file. As you can see here, we have our database file. Okay, this one. Okay, that's our database file, and then we have our students collection. Okay, that's what my call is, my collection, my database. Okay, And next, we need to have our okay, message box, okay, for this tkinter. Okay, so first is what happens if we click the save, okay, button. So if we click the save button, okay, so let me just remove the following. Okay, so let me just add comments. Okay, so we have this for save. Okay, and this one delete. Okay, and this one update. Okay, so okay, so let's add functionalities to our save. Okay, so every time you click the save button, okay, it needs to do something. Okay, so we will be calling first, okay, a message box. Okay, this is our message box. Okay, so let me just change the indentation. Okay, so okay, it will show a message box telling you if you're going to save the record or not. It will be assigned to this variable. So if you click OK, R is true. Okay, otherwise it's false. Okay, so if it's true, what we will do is we need to do the following. Okay, so we need to okay, wait, my MySQL is updating. Okay, so we need to okay, run the following statements. What does these statements do? Okay, these statements will be doing okay, first statement is it will count the number of documents in your students collection. Okay, so if you type, for example, okay, and okay, as you can see, I have 2 records. Okay, so my student collection has 2 records. This variable will return 2, okay, number 2. So this condition now, okay, has this if statement has a condition if 2 is not equals to 0. Okay, so since 2 is not equals to 0, what this statement will do, okay, which is in MongoDB, it will find okay, one record that is one record in this 2. We have 2 records here, or 2 document. It will simply look for the largest value. Okay, so we're going to look for the largest value in the student ID field. Okay, so the largest value here is 2. So 2 is the largest value, or student ID. It will be stored in this variable. So this variable new ID is 2. Okay, so the purpose of this, if this is 0, if you have no records, okay, we don't have to do this. Okay, so the result is we simply perform this statement, okay, without running this statement if we don't have any records yet. So this will become 0 plus 1. Okay, so our ID is 1. If you have a record already, okay, if you have a record already, new ID is equals to the largest student ID. Okay, so if you have a student ID, for example 10, this is 1 and this is 10, okay, new ID will become 10. Okay, new ID is 10 plus 1, so ID is 11. So 11 is the value that will be assigned to our CID text field, which is this one. So CID is a text field. anything you assign to it will also show in the text field. Okay, so in the text field it will show the value of ID. Okay, that's the purpose of having a set. Okay, next is we insert. Okay, so we insert, okay, using this statement. Okay, so my dictionary is we insert, okay, this statement. So this is the same thing as what I did here. Okay, we insert using brackets. So same thing with what I will do here. So this is a field. Okay, cost ID that get is a string. We're going to convert it to integer. Okay, because we need this to be integers, and these are simply strings. So no need to convert this one since this is already a string. Cost ID that get is, we will get the value of the cost ID or CID text field. Okay, cost name that get, we will get the okay, this is cost name. Okay, so this one, okay, cost name. Okay, we're going to get its value. Okay, and then cost email. Okay, we're going to get its value. Okay, and stud course also. Okay, so let me check if this is stud course. Okay, so this should be, okay, stud course. Okay, okay, so my dictionary will be insert. Okay, so you can use also, instead of insert, you can also use insert underscore one. So meaning you're just going to insert one document. Okay, you can use insert many if you want to insert multiple documents at the same time. So using insert or insert one will do the same thing. Okay, so my call is the my collection. Okay, which is our students collection. Okay, so this statement will insert that. So if I run my program, okay, let's see if this will work. Okay, this one. Okay, okay, I'm having an indentation problem. Okay, let me just delete this, delete and update. Okay, so if I type values, so currently these are the records of my students collection. So if I type, for example, okay, and click save, so this is the message box, okay, asking you to save. It's either okay or cancel. So if I click OK, R becomes true and it will perform all of these statements. Okay, so this is the result. As you can see, there's no error. And if I perform this statement, that will show all the contents of my collection. Okay, so we now have student 1, 2, and 3. So the ID here, 3, okay, is the value that is using this statement, it will search for the largest number and then increment it plus 1 and assign it as our new, okay, cost ID. Assign it to our text field and it will insert it to our collection. Okay, as you can see, so this should be student ID 4. Okay, so we have student ID 4. Okay, our student name, email, and course. Okay, so let's proceed to our delete. Okay, this is our delete. Okay, we should also have a delete here. Okay, delete. Okay, so our delete now. Okay, we will be using the same message box. Okay, because we need to confirm if the user wants to delete or he just accidentally click the button. Okay, so we're going to perform the following statements. Okay, so for deleting records, we're going to use this statement. So the ID you want to delete will appear in the cost ID. Okay, this text entry. So the value that is shown here, we're going to use that as a key. So we're going to delete the entire document associated with that field, the student ID. Okay, so the value that is shown in the text field and the field, okay, associated with that value. Okay, so my query, delete only one. You can choose delete many also, but we're just going to delete one record. Okay, for this functionality to work, okay, we need to have a way that shows all the current records that we inserted. Okay, we need to show all of these records, okay, in our form, because as you can see, it's not showing now. So we need to show all of this so that when you select a row, it will automatically also show the selected row's ID here, because I cannot type any ID here. Okay, so for that to be possible, okay, we need to create, okay, a collection of text fields. Okay, so we're going to be creating a new method here called create grid. So this method creates a group or multiple text fields, okay, that will show all of these values. Okay, so in this case, okay, this is the statement I will be, okay, using. Okay, so we have all of these statements. Okay, let me explain each one. Okay, so I have here a list. Okay, this list is currently it must be defined. Okay, I'm going to define this list here. Okay, so this list is global because it's declared outside our method. Okay, this list, as you can see, this is a two-dimensional list. Okay, that's why we have two brackets here. Okay, so inside it we have our first row. Okay, first row. Okay, this is the value of our list. This is the one that will appear as a header. Okay, so first we're going to clear it. If you call this method, we're going to clear the list because we're going to insert the values again. Okay, so after clearing it, inserting the values again. The purpose of this is because we're going to be calling this method every time you save, delete, and update. So we don't want to have multiple instances of these values appearing in our list. Okay, next is we're going to perform, okay, a find. Okay, this one, okay, will simply, okay, it's the same thing as what I did here. Okay, we're doing a find, so meaning we're going to get all of the values in our collection. Okay, so cursor now, as you can see here, okay, is a cursor. Okay, this cursor is not a list or not a dictionary, so cursor is a cursor. Okay, so what we will do is it will assign, we're going to assign each collection or record to this variable. Okay, so text from DB is a collection that holds this entire, all of these values. So we're going to perform a loop because we're going to iterate through each document. This is document 1, okay, record 2, document 2, record 3, so on and so forth. So we're going to perform a loop through each cursor. So the cursor will point first at the first document. Okay, so that's the purpose of having a cursor. So this variable will hold this value 1. Okay, so this variable in every iteration holds the ID 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, so this one we need to okay, get its field value because this is a cursor. Okay, so we need to convert it to string, okay, because it's currently not formatted to string. Okay, getting the field name stud id. Okay, and then we're going to get its value and assign it to this variable. Okay, so since stud id is an integer or a number, we don't have to convert it like what we did here. Okay, so encode UTF-8, okay, will include a character B. So we need to decode it, okay, to remove that B character. So if you remove the code, okay, if you remove this line of in this statement, it will include a letter B character. So decoding it removes that. Okay, so we now have a ID, name, email, and course, or values of our entire table or collection students assigned to each variable. We're now going to append it to our list. So the purpose of this 3D list creates a header, and on the second row, this is the first row, on the second row, okay, appends all of this, okay, all the values. Okay, it appends. And then what we will do to each variable or to this list is we're going to create, okay, multiple text entries, okay, or multiple like this, okay, multiple entries, okay, multiple entries. So this will serve as our table. Okay, as you can see, it's in we have here an inner loop and an outer loop. Okay, so this one will perform iteration, okay, as long as this for loop is still running. Okay, because it's based on the number of because we have a two-dimensional list. This list is 2D, as you can see, so we need to have 2 for loops. Okay, the first, okay, the inner loop is for every row. Okay, we're going to create, okay, okay, sorry, this is for every column. Okay, so for every column, so since we have how many columns? 1, we have 1, 2, 3, and then 4. So this will simply iterate 4 times. Okay, so the first is I is 0, j 0. So this is 0, this is 1, this is 2, 3, and 0, 1, 2, 3. Okay, and then I will increment. Okay, so this becomes 0, this becomes 1, so on and so forth. So I is the number of rows and j is the number of columns. Okay, so window, meaning we're going to insert this text input inside our window form or GUI. Okay, and then we have our insert. Okay, this one, it will insert the value that we append here, okay, to our entry. Okay, so since we have a text field entry, it needs to have a value. The value is the values that are appended in our list. Okay, and then this one, okay, the purpose of this statement is every time you click this text entry, we're assigning the values to a variable, okay, which is okay, this variable. Okay, so we're simply assigning an index. So for every text entry that we're showing, okay, after calling the subroutine, each text entry, okay, has its own index or its x and y coordinate. Okay, that's the purpose of this. Okay, and then its position, okay, similar to what we did here. Okay, we're assigning position, and then this one is if you click a particular text entry, we're calling a subroutine. Okay, so a subroutine called callback will be executed. So we need to have that subroutine. Okay, so that subroutine is simply going to assign all the values that is clicked in that row to each text field, okay, to each of these entries. Okay, so our callback is okay, this one, this is our callback. Okay, this is our callback. Okay, so as you can see here, okay, our callback, okay, is we're going to assign to our CID, CNAME, CEmail, okay, the values of each list, okay, that is being selected here. Okay, so since LST or LST is a three-dimensional, okay, two-dimensional list. Okay, as you can see, it's a two-dimensional list. So we're going to assign to our ID, okay, okay, this one is okay, so this is not needed. I will delete the following statements. Okay, we won't be needing this one and this one also. Okay, so we have here a list, okay, a one-dimensional list. Li, what does Li contains? So Li contains the value that is being clicked in our entry. Okay, so since if you click an entry, it will assign a value, okay, which is the coordinate, which is I. Okay, I here is the row. Okay, so since I is the row, if you click a particular text entry, okay, the row or value of I will be given. So this particular value is the row, okay, of the text entry that is clicked. So Li, okay, holds that value. So since li is used here, the first, okay, the first value that is inputted, okay, that will serve as our, okay, so lst is a 2D list. Okay, so this is the, we have here the row, okay, and then we have here the column. So the row, okay, is the value of I. Okay, so this is the row, the value of I. Okay, and this is the column. So the first column is the ID, the second column is the name. As you can see here, first column is ID, the second column is name, third column is email. Okay, this is the first column, second column, third column, and this one is the row. So the row is the value of I, this one is row, and this one is the column. Okay, so we need to assign the value that is being clicked here to each text entry, okay, that we just created here. Okay, so okay, so we need to call this subroutine. Okay, so as you can see, when calling this method, it includes a parameter n. Okay, so n here is used over here. So if n is 1, what we're doing is we're clearing the all of these text entries. We're clearing it. Okay, that's the purpose of this statement. So we're going to forget all the values or rows that is greater than 6. It's greater than 6 because if you run the program, okay, this is row 1, row 2, row 3, row 4, row 5, row 6. So this is row 7. All the values greater than 6, which is 7, 8, 9, 10, all of these values will be cleared. Okay, all of those values will be cleared. All rows that is greater than 7, okay, will be cleared. Okay, once you assign a 1 to n. So if you call this method, okay, let's call that method, okay, let's call it somewhere, okay, so okay, over here we can call it anywhere. And okay, so this one calls this method without clearing, okay, all of these text entries first. Okay, but if you assign a 1 to it, which is what we will do every time we click save, because we don't want to repeat all of these values again. Okay, so we need to clear, okay, all those text entries. So and so first you need to clear the grid. Next is to show all the values. Okay, so let's see the output. Okay, as you can see, we have here the following values found in our collection. Okay, so if I click one row, this is an entire document, document 1, document 2. If I click document 1, it will show all the values in document 1, document 3, okay, document 4. Okay, except for course, because I did not include course here yet. I only have ID, name, and email. Okay, so we can now use the delete functionality because we're showing the ID of the student showing in this entry. Okay, so if I add a new student, okay, let me type an email, for example, and then course. Okay, save. So it will show the record here or document, because what we did is, okay, we save it, we cleared the grid first, okay, we executed this statement, and then we call the method again, okay, and we show all the text entry. Okay, so if you remove this one, okay, let me show you what will happen if you don't clear the grid. Okay, it will just keep on adding. Okay, okay, it will just keep on adding values. Okay, okay, so it will actually there are two text entries here, okay, one one on the other, okay, one above on the other. So we have multiple text entries on top of each other because we're calling this again and again. Okay, we're adding text entries, assigning it to the same grid or position, so we're adding more and more text entries every time you click save. That's why you need to clear it first, okay, and then show it again. Okay, so let's try the delete functionality. So if we delete, okay, so if we delete, okay, selecting one document shows an ID, so we will need that ID for delete. Okay, I think I deleted this one. Okay, so the problem with this is I did not call the grid. Okay, that's why it did not show any changes. So you need to call the grid like what we did in save. Okay, it's deleted actually, as you can see. Okay, but the grid, this one did not refresh. So if you want to delete this student, for example, okay, it will not show in the grid. Delete this one. Okay, so the purpose of clearing it, okay, shows the grid. Okay, it will simply show the grid is being cleared, as you can see. Okay, so this one I did not clear the grid. Okay, it shows 27. Okay, this value is the previous one, this row is the previous one, and this is the new text entry. Okay, you have one text entry after the another, so you need to clear it first before creating another grid. Okay, so that's the importance of clearing the grid. So delete this one. Okay, so we now have a save functionality and delete. Okay, next, what next is the update. Okay, so we have the update. Okay, we have update here. Okay, so update functionality. Okay, this is the code for our update functionality. So we have our message box again. Okay, and then this time you can choose to update the name of the student or email. Okay, you can choose to include the course, for example, also. So first we need to set a value, okay, of a key, okay, which is our ID. So we need to know the ID of the student first. Okay, if you want to update the student's name or email. Okay, so this is needed, the ID, okay, and then the value of the text entry, okay, which is this one, cost ID. So we need to convert it to integer because it's currently string, and our field here stud ID is an integer. So these are all integers. It must be converted to int. Okay, so my query, okay, holds the collection that is being selected. Okay, this one, ID, if you're going to update this. And then new value is the value that we're going to, or field that we're going to change. And the value is found in the cost name text entry. So the value that we're going to update, okay, is found in this text entry. Okay, cost name. This is the field where this value is going to be assigned. Okay, set signals an update. So using the ID and the value of the field that will be changed, we're going to run this statement to update the query. It will do the same thing to our email also. If you have some value in your email, clearing and creating a grid, okay, after. So if I run the statement or program, so we don't have records yet. Let me add records first. So we have here student 1, student 2, okay, student 3. Okay, this is our student 1, 2, and 3. So the student course is not changing because I did not include that here. Okay, so okay, I want to change the name of this student. Okay, update. Sorry, I think I pressed delete. Sorry. So let me type a new. Okay, this is supposed to be B. Okay, so what we did here is the largest student ID plus 1. Okay, which is what we did here, the largest student ID plus 1. Okay, so I'm going to update this one. Update. Okay, I'm going to update the email. You can click anywhere, clicking this row. We're going to update the email. Okay, so it also applies to the student course because I think we have the same email, course, email. Okay, so we have a bug somewhere, but you get the idea. Okay, so we can now update, save, delete. Okay.